Why fighters don't fear pain. There was a young man who believed he was weak, not physically, mentally. Every criticism affected him. Every failure stayed in his head for weeks. Every setback felt personal. He spent years searching for confidence, reading books, watching motivational videos, listening to successful people explain how they had transformed their lives. Yet nothing changed, because information alone never changes a person. Experience does. One day, after another disappointing year, he walked into a Muay Thai gym. He wasn't looking to become a fighter. He wasn't looking to become a champion. He was simply tired of feeling powerless. The gym was old. The walls were worn. The bags were heavy. The atmosphere was different from anything he had ever experienced. Nobody cared about his excuses. Nobody cared about his fears. Nobody cared about how intelligent he was. The only thing that mattered was effort. The first training session was brutal. His lungs burned. His legs felt heavy. His shoulders ached. Within minutes, he wanted to quit. But something stopped him. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about his problems. He wasn't thinking about the future. He wasn't thinking about other people's opinions. He was completely present. And that's when the first lesson appeared. Pain forces presence. Most people live trapped in the past or worried about the future. But pain brings you into the moment. A fighter cannot think about yesterday while someone is throwing punches. He must be here, now, fully aware. That is why combat sports teach something that philosophy alone sometimes cannot. Presence is not an idea. It is a survival skill. Weeks passed, then months. The young man kept training. At first, he thought fighting was about strength. Then he thought it was about technique. Eventually, he discovered something surprising. Fighting was mostly about controlling fear. Every person who enters a ring feels fear. Every person. The difference is that some people act anyway. This is exactly what the Stoics taught. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. Marcus Aurelius never said strong people feel no fear. He taught that strong people refuse to be controlled by it. The young man began noticing something. His life outside the gym was changing. Difficult conversations became easier. Rejection became less painful. Failure became less frightening. Because every day he was practicing something important. He was teaching his nervous system that discomfort would not kill him. Most people avoid discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid challenges. They avoid responsibility. But every time you avoid discomfort, fear becomes stronger. Every time you face it, fear becomes weaker. That is one of the greatest lessons combat sports can teach. The obstacle is often the training. The thing you avoid is often the thing that would transform you. One evening after training, the coach shared a lesson. He said, "Most people think confidence comes before action. Fighters know confidence comes after action." The room became silent. Because everyone understood it was true. The world teaches people to wait until they feel ready. Fighters learn something different. You may never feel ready. You move anyway. You act anyway. You step forward anyway. Confidence is earned, not given. The months became years. The young man improved, but not in the way he expected. His punches became stronger. His conditioning improved. His technique sharpened. Yet those weren't the biggest changes. The biggest change was internal. He stopped needing approval. He stopped comparing himself to others. He stopped trying to impress people. Because combat has a strange way of exposing the truth. Inside a gym, status means nothing. Money means nothing. Followers mean nothing. Ego means nothing. Reality is all that matters, and reality is incredibly honest. The bag tells the truth. The ring tells the truth. Your preparation tells the truth. There are no shortcuts. This is why fighters often appear calm, not because life is easier for them, but because they have spent years facing reality. The Stoics admired reality. They believed suffering often comes from resisting what is. Fighters understand this instinctively. If you resist fatigue, it hurts more. If you resist fear, it grows stronger. If you resist reality, reality wins. Acceptance creates freedom. Years later, the young man entered his first amateur fight. He was terrified. His heart raced. His hands trembled. Every part of him wanted to leave. Then he remembered something his coach once said. Fear is a passenger. Don't let it drive. The bell rang, and something incredible happened. The fear remained, but he moved anyway. That is the secret. Fear never completely disappears. Even champions feel it. Even warriors feel it. Even legends feel it. The goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to stop obeying it. That lesson applies far beyond combat. Many people are waiting for fear to disappear before they start their business, before they approach someone they admire, before they change careers, before they pursue their goals. They wait and wait and wait. But life rewards movement, not waiting. The fight ended. The young man won. But the victory was not the important part. The important part was who he had become. The weak person who entered the gym years earlier no longer existed. Not because he became unbeatable, but because he became resilient. He discovered something every fighter eventually learns. The real opponent was never standing across from him. The real opponent was inside him. The voice that doubted him. The voice that wanted comfort. The voice that feared failure. The voice that wanted to quit. And that voice exists inside all of us. The battle is universal. You may never enter a ring. You may never throw a punch. You may never train Muay Thai. But you will face fear. You will face uncertainty. You will face pain. You will face setbacks. And when those moments arrive, remember this. Pain is not your enemy. Discomfort is not your enemy. Fear is not your enemy. Avoidance is. Every strong person you admire learned to walk through discomfort instead of around it. That is how resilience is built. That is how discipline is built. That is how confidence is built. Not through comfort, through challenge, not through shortcuts, through repetition, not through motivation, through action. The strongest people in the world are not those who never struggle. They are those who keep moving despite struggle. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson fighting can teach us. Life is not about avoiding pain. It is about becoming stronger than it. If this message resonated with you, subscribe and join this community. Many people watch these videos without subscribing, but by subscribing, you help spread these lessons to others who need them. Leave a comment below. I don't run from discomfort. And remember, the person you become is created by the battles you choose not to avoid.